Ganymede gathers data from labs and uses that to make an equipment integration platform. And so with me is the CEO and co-founder, Nathan Clark, to talk about what Ganymede is doing. Let's just start there. Give me an overview of the company, and then we'll dig deeper into what it is the company's doing.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're a data platform, instrument and equipment integration platform for the life sciences and for manufacturing. And we really specialize, I think, in handling the inherent complexity of the physical processes, the biology that are present in these scientific labs and the manufacturing sites. And so we have built a very good toolkit for integrating the instruments, getting the data off of them, and then putting them into a harmonized, easily accessible, analysis-ready data platform that we spin up in our cloud. So I like to say we really are the first and only full end-to-end cloud provider built from the ground up for the life sciences and manufacturing.
So what problems are you solving in life sciences and manufacturing?
Yeah, so in each of them, and especially the earlier stage you go in the R&D life cycle with biotechs, nothing is online. The data, it's all trapped in silos at best. At worst, it's trapped in the PCs attached to the lab instruments, and you're going to USB stick it around. Maybe even write stuff down on paper. People are still using paper.
Yeah.
And that's not the fault of the industry. It's just because it's too complex to actually have any online standards. And so the problem that we're solving is, how do I actually see my data in my lab when it's trapped in that box on the bench top?
So explain why somebody would need to see this data integrated. How does that help the whole life sciences industry?
It really helps the scientists speed up and accelerate what they're doing day to day, reduce the debugging cycles of experiments, and then allows management to really understand the progress of their overall science. You know, science is very much a black box today, even inside these companies. Management it's very hard, things are reported in PowerPoints, to understand what the progress of the science is. And scientists are doing all this physical data entry and analysis and spend probably at least, I would say, 20-30% of their time having to do data entry, manually do analysis. So we automate and give scientists the superpowers so they can focus on their science. But then through that, we also give this overall data lake visibility to management to understand their entire process and operation.
Okay, and there have been some attempts to automate this in the past, correct? And why haven't those worked?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of attempts that have been made in the past, but fundamentally, I think it's hard for people to appreciate that the level of complexity that's in this is much higher, I think, than other industries. It's much harder to get automated, and it's not because people are lazy, it's because there's a good reason. You know, biology is evolutionary and complex. It's a physical process, and when you're doing R&D, you're trying new things intentionally, and so it's impossible to pin down a data structure behind this. So people build no-code apps, they try to create standards, but none of these things work, and they always turn into these companies just having to manually build integrations with their own engineering teams every time, and every company reaches the same equilibrium. So I think we've really been the first to identify that it's a software engineering problem, and we need to build a tool for software engineers. No code will not work, standards will not work, everyone will have to build it themselves. It's a very pessimistic take, but it's worked much better for us as a paradigm.
Interesting. So what differentiates Ganymede and the cloud solution that you have, and what makes you different from some of the other providers out there?
Yeah, I would say on the one hand, you have the broad-based cloud platforms, AWS, GCP. We ourselves use GCP and are built on top of it. But so oftentimes biotechs will end up implementing those platforms to solve the problem that they are manually building it themselves. But those platforms are very geared towards building apps, higher scale analytical data. And so if you're a data scientist, great, AWS and GCP are ready to go, but they don't handle this lower scale, operational, complex process-driven data that emerges in wet labs, and really only, I think, is such a problem in wet labs. And so that's where we've built on top of those platforms and really built the perfect infrastructure for those labs. And then on the other hand, there are companies out there that try to do instrument integrations, more fit for purpose kind of companies in the sciences and manufacturing, but I don't think that they've ever really appreciated that you need to build tools for software engineers. You can't just have an app. You can't say, oh, here's my no-code integration platform, because those hit that wall. And they realize, okay, well, every time I go implement this at a new client, I have to go do a ton of customization with my engineering team. And so they become an integration sweatshop, and it's very inefficient compared to our approach.
And what about the future of the life sciences industry? And what kind of role do you think that Ganymede might play in that?
Yeah, I think the life sciences, and really every industry, but especially the life sciences, are going through this transition from a very process workflow-oriented mindset towards a data-oriented mindset. And I mean something very specific with that, in the sense that people are realizing, okay, it's not just that I have my lab and there's a bunch of machines that are doing things, and then I have my cells and I have my DNA. It's that, what is your experiment? How do you describe your experiment from a data perspective? What data in analysis do you want to do? You really want to be saying, okay, if I vary these input parameters, how does that affect my output? It's classic statistics, but I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people started to become very obsessed with this no-code workflow definition approach to the world. And there were a bunch of companies built around that really asymptoted pretty hard. And I think now people are starting to realize, start from the data backbone, start from describing what the overall logic of your business is as you see it, as in the abstract, as you would want to analyze it and build visualization on, and then plug the physical world processes into that. And I think that's what Ganymede is really riding on, or alternatively, what Ganymede is really driving, is that transition of saying, okay, define what data you want. Start with your data scientist. Start with saying, okay, what analysis, what machine learning model do you want to do? And then figure out how you get the data there and plug it in. And then that describes the physical world. A long time ago, I guess in startup terms, Mark Andreessen said that software is eating the world. But I think that's really, to us, what that means is you start with the software that you want and then make the physical process that plugs in. And so, at least in biotech, I think that's how we're trying to drive that.
Yeah, well, very interesting what you're doing. And I'm sure for the industry, it makes everything more efficient and helpful.
Yeah, 100%. It's a really profound change for scientists when they experience it, and ultimately it accelerates time to market for these drugs.
Oh, I got it. All right, thank you so much, Nathan, for coming
Absolutely.
in.